I wanted to mention this in yesterday's video, and this comment reminded me of what I forgot to mention. They are essentially saying that people who give advice loudly and rudely are intentionally being unwelcoming, and that most people know the difference between genuine advice and flaming. So, funny story about this. So, one of my closest and dearest friends, he's a great friend, a loyal friend, a great father to his kids, and a hard worker. I've known him for about 3 to 4 years now. I love him a lot. He has really helped me through a lot of things and taught me a lot of things. So, you know what I'm saying? But he's aware of this, and I told him this too, but he is very, very, very aggressive oftentimes. So aggressive. It's honestly because he works in sales, banking, and real estate. This dude is always on the phone selling stuff, and he's good at what he does, very good. Provides high quality services. But because most of his interactions are on the phone and he's making stacks of money, like I told you, he makes a lot of money, he's very successful. His natural state in conversations is just very aggressive. And for anyone who works in sales or deals with people who work in sales, you know how they are, especially when they're good at what they're like, bam, 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 bam. It's like, yo, so he's a very high intensity individual. He's used to being in a high stakes environment, so he can be hyper vigilant. So sometimes he'll be talking to me and I'll be like, chill, bro. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, yo, why are you so worked up and aggressive? Like, we talking about kale here. We're talking about kale and salads. Like, yo, you ran, like, what is it? Yo, like, hey, this ain't sales cut. And it used to trigger my fight or flight responses, by the way, very early on. Sometimes it still does. Like, he'll start calling, right? I pick up the phone, boom, 0 to 100. And then either I get worked up immediately or I'm on the defensive. The thing is, look, he's calling me. He's not mad at me or anything. It's just his way of communicating. It's just how I respond to people who are aggressive, right? And because it's like this, he could be very blunt with his advice. I think it's just a natural habitat of being in sales. He's just very blunt with how you say things. And this goes to the comment, right? He will start flaming. And it's always emasculating stuff. It's always about not being masculine enough or being too soft or emotional or sensitive, right? And I'm telling you, I used to get so worked up about this. But now, like, we just got off the phone 30 minutes ago before I started recording. Yo, I noticed how less sensitive I am to it. Yo, he's there busting my chops and everything. I'm busting his chops, and like the conversation was gentle at some points, and then boom, he's at 0 to 100, and I'm simply adjusting to it. You know what I'm saying? I'm laughing it off. Like, I don't, bro, like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you said that? All right, well, watch this. I'm gonna say this. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not being sensitive anymore about this. And what I find interesting, though, is that I learned something very important by having him in my life as a friend. And look, we've been through rough moments together. Not as enemies. We never really had a problem, but we've dealt with stuff in terms of business and other things together. And I learned not to react so personally. And this is the thing I was mentioning, because he'll give advice loud and rudely, but personally on the phone, you know? But I start to think to myself sometimes, you know, he's being this way. I have to stop remembering him by his aggression, but rather the good that he does. Also, what happens is, and this happened to me a lot in the past, you're being too aggressive. I'm ignoring the message that you're saying. Because I feel like you're yelling at me, you're mad, so I'm not even going to listen to what you're saying to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, also, I also felt like I need to do a better job not making his behavior force me to feel stressed or small. That's something I need to work on. Because, like I said, it would trigger me sometimes, even now. But I realize how much better it is, like, the way of communicating that he has or handling situations like him, it doesn't affect me as much anymore. That dominant psychological tone, it was needed for me to deal with, because when I started hanging around him, by the way, guess how his friends are like, okay? One of him may be overwhelming to me. Man, you've been a whole room full of them. They all work in the same industry. They all work in sales. So they're all aggressive in their tone, and they're all real estate. You know what I'm saying? I gotta sell you this. I gotta sell you this. Oh, I could do with finances. Like, bruh, relax, yo. I hear you. Chill out. But it's very easy for me to deal with people who I don't know who are like that now. And I noticed a change because I've had people approach me very aggressively in my life, right? The past year or two, and I don't break anymore. Like, I don't want to start throwing hands or start crying like I used to. If you ran up on me in the past, it's really going to be fight or flight. Now I'm just like, hey, yeah, I'm not even gonna react as much, you know. Rather, I'm just gonna stay solid to how I feel or what I think, despite how you're speaking to me, despite what you're saying to me. Like, okay, I, okay, like just because you're being aggressive, you're not gonna like sway me now. Like that's not working anymore. Like I'm still standing on my feet, you know. Like if you're being blatantly disrespectful, you know, that's kind of a different story. But even like then, I wouldn't back down as much, you know. Sometimes someone's aggressive behavior isn't going to control my internal state of mind anymore. And I think that was a major flaw I had several years ago. A good way to get me to do something was to be hyper aggressive. Or if you're asserting yourself over me, and then like a dog, my tail would be between my legs. If you were just straight up disrespectful and you approached me, I was instantly angry and ready to crash out. All right, nice tone. Now it's like, all right, nice tone, dude. All right, you know, I'm not gonna take it personal. I see that you're aggressive. I don't know what's going on with you internally to why you feel this way, you know, but I'm gonna maintain my own level of calmness and belief here. I'm not gonna be swayed. My emotions are not gonna be absorbed by your emotional state right now. So this goes back to the comment and what I said in yesterday's video about how some friends will communicate with you very bluntly. And then I said in my video, look, some people have to deal with the jerk of a friend or someone who knows your deepest vulnerabilities to realize something ain't right. Not some random person, by the way. I'm talking about someone who genuinely knows your deepest flaws, secrets, insecurities, and has seen you when your guard is down. Those people who have seen and experienced that from you and hit you with that bluntness, hey, sometimes it's genuinely needed, you know? It's weird because my best friend, not the same person I'm talking about in this video, my best friend is the opposite of this friend in the video. My best friend is very nurturing, caring, compassionate, and gentle. I see him get worked up, but never aggressive. So I get two sides of the pendulum here on a daily basis. One friend is 0 to 100, the other one is just nurturing and compassionate mode. And remember what I said though, this is the main point or the moral of the video, right? The lesson of the video. Be wary of your reactiveness because that's a weakness in my opinion. Just because someone or everyone else is crashing out doesn't mean you need to. But also, like I said, sometimes you got to focus on the good things over the negative things. How did I start this video? I mentioned he's a great friend, a great father, very successful in his work, and he has been there for me through my worst moments and helped me so much in my life. And obviously, he ain't perfect though, you know? Nobody is. I communicated with him about his aggression. He knows he's aggressive, but, you know, here's a good perspective that probably you could relate to. If I only had friends like my best friend, who is always gentle and nurturing, compassionate, how am I ever going to learn to deal with people who are aggressive and their communication is terrible? But they aren't bad people to deal with, you know what I'm saying? Like, how are you ever going to learn about anything with people if all you do is deal with the same type of people? You don't grow by just sitting in the same like space the whole time. You don't grow by dealing with the same exact people all the time. You need diversity. If there's no conflict, if there's no diversity, then what is life? It's just boring, you know? Like, it's just bland, like no experience, nothing to learn about other people and stuff like this, you know? Everything's very easy for you to manage. So like, this is how you get bored in life too. And this is how you just like, you don't know how to deal with people when they throw you off, especially people who you don't know who show up. Like, remember I told you the aggressive, I never really dealt with aggressive people like that. Like this guy who I'm talking about. But now I can. You know, it's like, so again, I feel like I lost a lot of potential friendships because it was very difficult for me to deal with the way people spoke sometimes. Or like I would take something very poorly, or I would react very poorly to certain things that, you know, since I took it so personally, or buzzwords were used, I just like I would just block people or just not communicate. You know, or, you know, I crash out too. That was like my main thing. I just start crashing out too. You get what I mean? Anyway, just sharing. Let me know how you guys feel down below. Love you all. I'm out.